It's Monday, the 19th of February 2024. Welcome to the Fast 5 Business News by Fear and Greed, where we give you the top 5 business stories you need to know in just 5 minutes. I'm Michael Thompson, and good morning, Sean Aylmer.
Good morning, Michael.
Sean, 5 stories in 5 minutes. Let's get going. Story number 1, more than 80 listed companies report this week, including the big 3 iron ore miners. They've got some of the largest property companies as well, some household names, Woolies and Qantas, and expectations are really pretty high, aren't they, that they can keep the very positive trend going.
They are. So far, the strength of the earnings season in Australia has surprised a number of participants, helping to push shares higher. Of the roughly third of the ASX's big companies to have reported results for the December half, 47% have been above what the market expected, 34% below. As AMP's Shane Oliver said, so far, so good. That's ensured the S&P ASX 200 continues to trade close to all-time highs, even as interest rates are at levels not seen in more than 10 years. Investors expect profits will overall fall 5% this financial year, led down by the energy companies. They think the financials will be a bit worse off, but the rest pretty flat. The surprise so far this year have been the retailers with better than expected profits. So far, just over half of companies have reported higher profits, over half up dividends, but that's actually a bit lower than normal.
Sean, it's a big week, isn't it? What's going to happen to the market?
Yeah, it's a great question. We're going to hear from a bunch of property companies, Lendlease, Stockland Centre, a bunch of miners, BHP, Rio Tinto, Fortescue Metals. We're going to have Qantas, Nine Media, Woolies, plenty going on. I'm going to defer to Shane Oliver about what's going to happen. He reckons easing inflation pressures, lower rates and prospects for stronger growth in 2025 should make for okay investment returns this year. However, shares historically tend to fall during the initial phase of rate cuts, still a risk of recession, and prices are pretty high at the moment, so it could be a bit of a rough year. Of course, we're not an investing podcast. Always seek your own professional advice.
All right, on to story number 2 now. A second group of asylum seekers has turned up at a remote outstation north of the Aboriginal community of Beagle Bay, where a group of about 30 men was taken into custody by Border Force authorities on Friday.
The undetected group of 13 men walked into the campsite of Pender Bay on Western Australia's remote Dampier Peninsula on Friday afternoon. They were bailed up, apparently by the owner's dogs. Pender Bay is about 51 kilometres by road north of Beagle Bay, where the first group was given shade and water by locals earlier in the day on Friday. The second group spent 2 hours at the camp with its Aboriginal occupants who tried to calm them. The West Australian Police did arrive. It means the total number of asylum seekers are now over 40. All have been sent or going to be sent to Australia's detention centre on Nauru. Anthony Albanese, the Prime Minister, yesterday said the government remains committed to the Operation's Sovereign Borders regime, which was actually introduced by the Abbott government.
Sean, story number 3, another weekend, another really strong set of auction results. The national preliminary clearance rate coming in at 75.4%, with Sydney leading the way at nearly 82%.
Seems like lots of buyers out there in Sydney. It was the biggest week for auctions. More than 2,000 places went under the hammer. Melbourne was largest in terms of numbers, at least. It had a 72% preliminary clearance rate, according to CoreLogic. Research director from CoreLogic, Tim Lawless, said the preliminary clearance rate was around 65% at the end of the year. It's now run around 73%. Fair to say the strong results are attributable to more than seasonality. It just seems that confidence is returning and there's growing expectations that rates will be lower in the year. Away from Sydney and Melbourne, Brisbane came in at 74%, Adelaide 76%, and Perth was 56%.
Story number 4, how about this one? Indonesia has replaced New Zealand as the top destination for short-term trips overseas for the first time since records began nearly 50 years ago.
Around 1.37 million Australians travelled to Indonesia last year compared to 1.26 who went to New Zealand. Now, the vast majority going to Indo, 86%, they went for holidays, whereas with New Zealand, it's balanced between holidays and visits to friends and relatives. The figures also showed that Australians travelling overseas is almost back to pre-COVID levels. That's not the case for visitors coming into Australia. New Zealand still holds the top spot for visitors to Australia, followed by the USA and UK, Michael.
Okay, last one, Sean. Story number 5. The chicken business, or more correctly, I suppose, the poultry business, is having a fine time of it, with ASX-listed Ingham's Group saying its half-year profit jumped 268%, allowing for a tripling of dividends.
Mind you, its share price fell about 12.5% on Friday. Ingham's provides poultry for cafes, restaurants, supermarkets and fast food chains. It's benefited from being cheaper than red meat and a source of protein. So as the cost of living and inflation has risen, chicken's been winning. In fact, Ingham's estimates it produces 440 million kilos of chicken a year. Now, more chicken is being sold via supermarkets rather than takeaway, so there has been a shift within that. But with beef still 4 times more expensive than chicken. So chicken's about $6.40 a kilo, beef's about $26.60 a kilo, $19 for lamb, $14 for pork. That's according to Episode 3, which is an agricultural consulting firm. Chicken is really winning out. $6, a lot cheaper than $26.60.
Yeah, so many stats to keep abreast of, Sean.
Oh, very good, very good.
So I would have done it like a budum-tsh, but I don't have my drumsticks.
Damn it.
All right, there we go. The top 5 business stories in 5 minutes. Thank you, Sean.
Thank you, Michael.
It's Monday, the 19th of February, 2024. Remember to hit follow on the podcast. And if 5 minutes isn't enough, you can find our longer daily show called Fear and Greed Business News wherever you listen to podcasts. I'm Michael Thompson, and that was the Fast 5 Business News by Fear and Greed. Have a great day.